Hello, everyone. We are getting started in chapter 2, which is about integers and rational numbers. The first lesson is on integers. Now, integers, what those are just positive numbers and negative numbers. And those are called integers. So just really any whole number. When I say whole number, what I'm talking about is a whole number is a number that's just like 0, 1, 2, 3, and then you keep going. So things that would not be a whole number would be like 1.5. Any type of decimal or anything like that is not a whole number. So when it comes to integers have to be whole numbers. They can't be decimals. It can't be 1.1 or 2.3 or negative 2.5. Those aren't integers, just whole numbers that are positive and negative. So 0 is actually neither positive nor negative. And whenever you have a number line, this is an example of a number line, it really shows all of the positive integers and all of the negative integers. So that's just a nice little vocabulary term that whenever you see the word integers, they're talking about positive and negative whole numbers. Now, every integer has an opposite integer, and a number and its opposite are the same distance from 0. So if we look at the number 4 right here, 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4 units from 0, and its opposite would be 4 units the other way from 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, which would give us negative 4. So what that means is that 4 and negative 4, they are called opposites. So number 1, it says how many units is 4 from 0? Well, 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4 units from 0. And then it says how many units is negative 4 from 0? Negative 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 4 units from 0. Whenever we're talking about distance, we talk about it in a positive way. And so 4 and negative 4 are called opposites. So with these next couple problems, what we're going to do is we're going to graph each integer and its opposite on the number line. So 2, if this is 0, 1, 2, this is where 2 is, and we just put a point right there. And its opposite would be 2 is 2 away from 0, and that's just talking about the distance, that little thing right there, that's 1, 2. And so the opposite would be 2 in this direction, which would give us 1, 2 right there. So negative 2 would be the opposite, okay? Let's go over here to negative 3. Let's find negative 3 on the number line. So here's 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. We put a point for that. Negative 3 is how far from 0? Well, it's 1, 2, 3. So its opposite would be the opposite direction. If negative 3 went this way, the opposite direction is this way. So we have to go the opposite way 3 units, which would be 1, 2, 3. So that would give us 3. So negative 3 and 3 are opposites. Okay, moving on. You can use a number line to compare and order numbers. The numbers get greater as you move to the right. And if you see this, as we move to the right, the numbers get bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it just keeps going on forever. And when you go to the left, the numbers get smaller. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Those are smaller numbers. These are bigger numbers. So what is the order from least to greatest of negative 1, 2, and negative 3? Well, let's go ahead and graph them on this number line. So negative 1 would be right here. 2 would be here. And negative 3 would be right here. So what we know is we know that the smaller numbers are this way, and then the bigger numbers are that way. So if we were going to do them from least to greatest, we would know we would start with negative 3. And then we would work our way this way. And as we work our way this way, that's where the numbers get bigger. So negative 3 would be the smallest, followed by negative 1. And then we keep going, and then we get to 2. So those would be the numbers from least to greatest. All right. So I would like you to go ahead and try 7 and 8 on your own. I want you to write the integers from least to greatest. So now I want you to pause and then work those problems out and then come back, press play, and we'll see how you did. All right, perfect. So let's see. Number 7, we're going to graph -2 would be right here. -3 would be right here. And 4 would be right here. So from least to greatest, remember the smallest numbers are this way. So we're going to go -3, and then we're just going to work our way this way. So -3, -2 would be the next one, and then +4. So that would be from least to greatest. Let's try this one, number 8. -5 would be here. 2, not -2, +2, that's a +2, would be here. And then 1 is right here. And so this is the least to the greatest. So -5 would be the least, and then we just work this way until we get to 1, and then we get to 2. So there we go. That's least to greatest. Perfect. Okay, moving on. Let's look at the next example. It says the absolute value of an integer, absolute value, okay? Absolute value has these cool signs that look like this. You see those straight lines like that? That's an absolute value. So the absolute value of an integer is its distance from 0 on a number line. So -5, if we're talking about -5, well, how far is -5 from 0? What is this distance? Well, that distance is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 units away from 0. So what that means is if we take the absolute value, whenever we see these big long lines, that means, hey, what's the absolute value? How far is -5 from 0? And we already figured that out. It equals 5. So the absolute value of -5 is 5. What about the absolute value of +5? Well, whenever you see these big lines, that's absolute value. It's talking about how far is 5 away from 0. So if we look here, here's 5. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 units away from 0. Now, there is kind of a cheat rule when it comes to absolute value. The cheat rule basically is whenever you have absolute value, whatever's inside, you just make it positive. So if you had the absolute value of -10, the absolute value of -10 is a +10. -10 is 10 units away from 0. If you had the absolute value of 4, it's just positive. It's 4, the absolute value of 4, the number 4 is 4 units away. Or if we had -123, the absolute value of -123 is just the positive. It equals 123, and that would be the answer. So that's kind of like the cheat rule. But really, whenever you see this, it's talking about the distance away from 0. So the absolute value of an integer is its distance from 0 on the number line. -5 is 5 units away from 0. The absolute value of -5 is 5, and we talked about that, and you write it like this. So number 9, it says, how many units is 0? Oh, I'm sorry. How many units from 0 is -3? So if we look here, this is where -3 is. How far is -3 from 0? Well, it's 1, 2, 3. So the answer would be 3. Now I'd like you to just work on this activity here. I want you to try to work on this on your own, so I want you to pause it. How about you just start working on problems number 1 through 6. When you get done with those, then go ahead and press play and we'll go over the answers, okay? So go ahead and pause, work on 1 through 6, and then press play and we'll talk about them. All right, let's go. It says graph each, let's see how you did. Graph each integer and its opposite on the number line. Okay, so 3 is right here on the number line. Its opposite would just be -3. So 3 and -3 are opposites. Let's do number 2. -5. -5 is here. That's how you graph negative 5. Negative 5 is 5 units from 0, so its opposite would be positive 5. So I hope you got both of those right. Okay, let's go on to the next one. It says use the number line to compare the integers. Write less than or greater than. So we have negative 8 and we have 7. So negative 8 would be here. And positive 7 is 6 would be right here. So remember, the numbers over here are the least, and the numbers, this is to the greatest. So the number that's closest to least is going to be the smallest one. So negative 8 is smaller than 7. This was 7 right there. So what I like to say is whenever we have these signs, I kind of look at them as alligators, and they have teeth, and alligators are really hungry, and alligators always eat the bigger number. So if you can't remember which way it goes, just think, okay, what's the bigger number? The bigger number is 7, and the alligator is going to eat the 7. So we would say you would do it like that, and it's kind of like the alligator's eating the 7 because it's bigger. All right, so we'd say negative 8 is less than 7. All right, let's go on to the next one. I'm going to change my color. So we have 4 and negative 7. So 4 is here. Now we're working with green. I hope you can tell the difference. And negative 7 is right here between negative 6 and negative 8. So negative 7 is closer to the least, so that one's smaller. 4 is bigger, so the alligator is going to eat the bigger one. All right, let's go on to number 5. We have negative 6. I'm going to change the color here. Negative 6 would be right here to pink. And negative 16 would be all the way down here. Now, which of these pink dots is closer to the least? Well, negative 16 is, so that means it's a smaller number than negative 6. So negative 6 is bigger than negative 16, so the alligator is going to eat the negative 6. And then finally, we have number 6, negative 11 and a positive 11. So negative 11 would be, this is negative 10. Negative 11 would be right here. And then positive 11 would be all the way over here. And this is definitely the least. This one's smaller. That one's bigger. So negative 11 is smaller. So the alligator would eat the bigger one. So we'd say negative 11 is less than 11. Awesome. Great work so far. Okay, let's go on. I want you to try to do 7 and 8 on your own. It says graph the integers on the number line, then write them in order from least to greatest. So I want you to work on 7, 8. So go ahead and pause. When you get done with them, press play and we'll go over the answers. All right, thanks. All right, we are back. Let's go ahead and graph these. So we have negative 6 is here. 3 is 1, 2, 3 right here. Negative 5 is here, and then 8 is right here. So remember, this is where the least is to the greatest. So we're just going to work our way this way, starting with the smallest one, which would be negative 6. And then we move to negative 5. And then the next biggest one would be 3. And then the greatest one would be 8. So that would be from least to greatest, all right? Let's go on to number 8. So let's check and see how you did on that one. Let's graph them first. Here's 6. Here is negative 7. Negative 7's down here at the negative numbers. Negative 8 is right here, and then 0. So remember, this is where the least to the greatest. And we're just going to start here and work that way. So the smallest one would be negative 8, followed by negative 7, and then 0, and then 6. So those are the integers from least to greatest. Now what I want you to do is let's actually do a couple together. So it says use the number line to find each absolute value. So we're finding the absolute value of negative 6. Now, negative 6 is right here. How far is negative 6 from 0? Well, it's 6 units, so you're just making negative 6 positive. Okay, and what about 2, the absolute value of 2? 2 is right here. How far is 2 from 0? Well, it is 1, 2 units. Okay, so I want you to actually just go ahead and work on the problems 11 through 20. So go ahead and pause. When you get done with those, press play, and then we'll talk about them. All right, we are back. Let's go ahead and figure out what the answers are. Now, I'm just going to use the cheat rule. I know that whenever I'm dealing with absolute value, I just go ahead. It's talking about the distance from 0, and I just make everything positive. So if it's the absolute value of -1 is 1. The absolute value of 8 it's positive. It's 8. The absolute value of -9, you just make it positive. It's 9. The absolute value of 3 is 3. The absolute value of -4 would be a positive 4. The absolute value of 10 is a positive 10. The absolute value of -15 would be a positive 15. The absolute value of 20 is a positive 20. The absolute value of -13 is a positive 13. And the absolute value of 17 would be a positive 17. So that was pretty easy. Let's go on to number 21. It says the wind chill on a cold day makes it feel like 5 degrees below 0 outside. Write this temperature as an integer. So if we look at this number line right here, this is 0. This would be above 0. This would be below 0. So this would be above, which would be the positive numbers, and below would be the negative numbers. So if it says it's 5 degrees below 0, here's 0, below would be this way. So 5 degrees would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it would be -5 degrees. All right, so that's the answer to that problem. It says number 22 says a baby gained 15 pounds from birth to his first birthday. Write this amount as an integer. So if a baby gained 15 pounds from its birth to its first birthday, that would mean it would be going in the positive direction, so it would just be positive 15. All right, I hope you got those problems right. I will see you next time. Goodbye.